them to just get a little orientation of what's going on here. But when they start getting more interested and they want to actually get involved in what we're doing here in the Genesis Fractal, then inside of the Genesis Fractal group, so I guess just to show you real quick, if you go to, it's not actually groups anymore. We changed it to fractals. My brain is still forgetting that. So in the left, if you go to fractals, the fractal at the top is the fractally Genesis fractal, and or the Genesis fractal. We might need to rename this. Then in here on the discovery page, there is another welcome series. So you could, if you went to this discovery page, you could just grab the link, or you could grab the first post in the series if you want, which is what we were just talking about. So all of the introduction orientation stuff that we used to do, that's all included in this welcome series. So we can have kind of a longer video that goes through that whole presentation. And then we have some short videos that just walk you through some of the different steps that you need to participate. And then the newest thing that I just mentioned, in case anyone didn't recognize, Matt Langston and I have set up a new service for the community where you can, if you want to talk to someone, you can get a free consultation or book a one-on-one session. And so you just need to remember this Calendly link, or it's embedded here on this welcome post. It's also on the welcome post, the first welcome post in the just when you first join the Go Fractally community. It's at the bottom there as well. And if you click on this, it's just a regular Calendly page, and it says if you'd like to talk, it's an introduction to Fractally. If you'd like to talk to someone to learn more about the next generation of DAOs and how you can begin participating in building, this is our mission here, building the technology, raising awareness, and growing adoption of fractal governance as outlined in the Fractally white paper, which links to the fractally.com site, then please sign up for a free consultation with one of our experts. So right now it's just me and Matt who have set this up and are experimenting with it. And if you're not familiar with Calendly, it's very user-friendly. So you just pick a time and you schedule, and it's a pretty smooth system. Depending on what time you pick is depending on if it's going to be me or Matt that you're having the meeting with. So the objective here is to use these things. And Matt, if you want to chime in, feel free to use these tools to help onboard people into Fractally. So we've got these, there's more content coming, but we've got these initial like introduction video type things and articles and welcome series. And then we've also now got this, you can book a one-on-one session for 30 minutes to talk to somebody that can answer your questions and, you know, just help you go through the process. And there can be some follow-up also to those meetings, kind of a VIP white glove experience a little bit. So we would encourage you, and maybe I can put the link in the chat, to take advantage of this and you know, allow us to help you get people going in Fractally. And we're going to see how this works. It's brand new. We haven't officially had, we've done some practicing a little bit together, Matt and I, but we haven't had an official candidate yet. Although I did give the link to somebody the other day that reached out to me. Matt, is there anything in addition to what I mentioned that you want to say about that, since we're on that topic?
Thanks, Josh. No, I think that was great. I just emphasized that the reason for the one-on-one is so that we can reach people who are maybe sitting on the fence, or for some reason they have a concern about wanting to get involved. So when you share this link, so this is for, you know, anybody. So if there's non-technical people, or they're a little concerned that they're not technical enough, or they're not an engineer, or they're whatever, this would be a very good place for them to talk with somebody to help them, you know, take that next step. So it would be great if this service could bring in people who are really, you know, they care about what we're doing, but they don't know how to get involved, and they're not coders. So that is my goal, is to try to get reach as many people as we can. Thanks, Josh.
Yeah, thank you, Matt. I thought that was an awesome idea last week. I put the link in the chat if anyone wants to bookmark it. So ideally, this would be someone, you know, that you know personally. You have some kind of personal connection with them. We're just testing this out, so we don't necessarily want to spam it. I would say we definitely don't want to spam it out there to the world. So please don't just spam the link on like Twitter. or something like that, where we have a probability of getting some trolls, it's more of like a private one-to-one kind of thing where you would refer somebody, or if they happen to find it because they're going through the welcome series, in the Genesis Fractal group or just in the gofractally.com website. Welcome to everyone who's joining. I see Brandon's got his hand up. Go ahead, Brandon.
Yeah, hey guys, good to see you all. I just wanted to introduce someone who I'm onboarding today. He's been reading the white paper, and he's been learning about fractal governance, fractal democracy. So this is Anthony Rivers. He's my cousin. He's all about life, liberty, property, and justice, and he's going to try things out today.
Great, welcome.
Thank you.
How much extra respect do you get when you onboard a family member who's in the same room with you? That's awesome. Nice to meet you.
You're
Thanks
welcome.
for being here.
Nice to meet you.
One more thing I also want to draw attention to, I like to do this when people are contributing things. If you go into the Fractally Genesis group, Patrick just made a post, a couple of videos here related to the Rashomon effect. And Matt, I think just within the last day or so, posted a really great article on simulating fractal governance. So this is related to one of his contributions, but even just the thought process here in this article, I would encourage everyone to check it out. And there's links to various things in here, including the fractal governance simulator that Matt's been working on, currently in development. The link to the GitHub here is in the article. I guess for convenience, I'll drop this in the Zoom chat, but if you just go into the Fractally Genesis group, you can find it. It's towards the top. Matt, I don't know if you want to say anything else about your article again while we're on the topic, but feel free.
I thank you for the opportunity, but that's okay. But thank you for letting people know that. Well, I'll say one thing. It tries to. I was encouraged by Gregory to kind of for people who who would like to just get some general outlines and a conceptual mental model. That introduction might be good for. It's accessible to anybody who's would just be trying to get their minds around something that's new and different and maybe for them.
Yeah, thank you, Matt. So everyone check that out. I put the link in there. Also, Patrick's added it to the mind map that he's been kind of organizing and keeping track of everything. So it can be easy to kind of get things lost. So, and I think there's a comment on that article also that mentions and links to that. The other thing I want to mention, kind of a housekeeping thing, we've started a poll for potentially starting a second meeting. We're putting out a feeler, and this may not work. We may need to do the poll again. So far, we've had 16 people who have responded, and this is what the poll looks like. The different times they're based on my availability in the evenings on these days. So if my availability maybe doesn't work very well for the group, maybe we should get somebody else if we need to select a better time. And you'll see what I mean when you see where the poll results are at the moment. But this is just displaying in Central Time. So Tuesdays, 6 p.m., 7 p.m., or 9 p.m. Wednesdays, 6 p.m., 9 p.m. Central Time. Thursdays, 6 p.m., 7 p.m., 9 p.m. So we're choosing the evenings because it's a different time of day, and we're choosing Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday because these are the furthest away reasonably from Saturday. Wednesday maybe would be one of the best. And so far the results are 8 people have voted for, let's see, this must be Tuesday at 9 p.m. 7 people have voted for Wednesday at 9 p.m. Central Time, and 6 people. So these are just the top votes so far. They're all 9 p.m. Central Time, which is 10 p.m. Eastern Time, which is pretty late on a weekday for a lot of people. But that's where the poll's at so far. We've only had 16. I'd like to see maybe at least 10 more people weigh in on this. And I don't know if anyone else has any thoughts, but this is just the raw data so far.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Is this for changing the time of this meeting to that time, or?
No, I don't think we're talking about changing the time of this meeting unless I have a misunderstanding. I think we're just talking about potentially creating a second meeting.
What's the purpose of the second meeting?
There's been people that are complaining about the weekend doesn't work very well for them, but it obviously works well for all of us who've been committed to this for quite a while. So the idea, maybe I'm misunderstanding things. The idea behind the second meeting is you'd have twice as much opportunity to attend and twice as much opportunity to earn respect. And if for some reason the weekend doesn't work for you, then maybe during the week in the evening would work for you.
But people could attend both, or?
I believe this is what was being discussed last week. I might be misinterpreting or misunderstanding. I don't know if anyone else wants to clarify.
We were just brainstorming potentials. Having two different times opens it up to more people. Obviously, people can't attend both, and your total respect earned would be double if you did attend both. But it's not about attending. There's several different conflicting things that we're trying to achieve simultaneously. We want to create a rhythm where people can just know exactly what they're doing every week and things aren't bouncing around, because that consistency is helpful for routine. But we want to simultaneously accommodate as many people as possible. Saturdays being good for some people, but other people will say, well, Saturdays are my family days, and you've got people travel on the weekends, and so it's the debate was whether to have two groups or not. The danger, of course, being if this group splits into two, those that want to do on the weekends and those want to do on weekdays, we might have two completely independent groups that actually never meet. It's actually almost two fractals instead of one at that point in time. So I'm not certain that we want to do it. One of the observations of this polling that's gone out is it's split, statistically tied between all those other recommended dates, which shows how polling is not a consensus building process. Reaching a consensus on what date to choose is going to require on any of these things. Do we want to go to twice a week? I mean, that's twice as often as white paper calls for. It might, there's several different things you want to consider. I just know that a week's already it's a lot of overhead. Just having one meeting a week, going to two meetings a week might cause some people to feel that those who have no life and can attend two meetings are unfairly favored compared to those who have a day job and got to do all this other stuff and can only attend one, even if they are doing a lot of work for the community and producing a lot of value. So just, I'd say right now, this is all advisory consideration of what are the pros and cons of it. I would think that maybe if there was a majority that was able to move to a different time that would be more convenient to more people, we could do that. But consistency, I think, is the single best thing of being stable, reliable, predictable. Everyone can count on it. Everyone knows it's going to be every Saturday or it's going to be every Wednesday or whatnot, and you just go with it. And I think I'm evaluating this real time, so please don't hold me to anything I'm saying here. But I think that the way that this should probably go is we grow this fractal on Saturdays as big as we can, and then we create a new fractal that's entirely independent, operating on a different day and time. And people can choose which fractal they want to join. They can have the same mission, and we can have mutual respect. And some people could be parts of both fractals if they wanted to be parts of both fractals. But that is probably a better way to scale the number of people participating in fractal governance. That was the original way, is we have fractals based on time zone and language. Another way of saying time zone is fractals based upon different groups of people's schedule availability. And for some people, the current work, some people are meeting us at 10 p.m. at night if they want to join this particular call, and that's fine for them if they can meet this time. So that's my thoughts on that.
Yeah, thanks for clarifying, Dan. So we're putting out a feeler, and nothing official is going on yet, but a poll has been started. Let's see.
Want to drop a link to that poll in the chat?
Oh, sure. Yeah. Thanks for mentioning that. Any other questions or comments here while we're still in the pre-meeting? And I'm just scanning to see if any other new people have joined, but it doesn't look like it yet.
I think we got a new guy, Eric. He may wish to remain anonymous, which is great. He may be standing in. I do know he joined as a result of a tweet that I sent out a few weeks ago. So welcome, Eric. And Josh, if you wanted a one-liner or two-liner for as an intro, 1 minute to 30 second or whatever, maybe that could prompt it.
Sure. Yeah. Well, Eric, feel free to mention anything in the chat, or just turn on your audio if you have any questions or comments. But what we're doing right now is we're in a pre-meeting for this Fractally Genesis group, which is the first fractal trying to move forward with what's described in the Fractally white paper. So the product is still in development, and we're just enthusiastically trying to do what we can without having the product yet. And so we've been having these weekly meetings for I'm not even sure how many weeks now, to be honest. It's been several months, and we have pretty consistent participation, and basically everybody in the group is contributing to the mission of this Meta Genesis Fractal, which is to help build the technology, raise awareness, and grow adoption of fractal governance as outlined in the white paper. And so in the meetings that we're getting ready to, in the meeting that we're in today that we're getting ready to start in about 20 minutes, we'll go into breakout rooms. And in those breakout rooms, we'll be in groups of 5 to 6 people. And then we will, in the beginning, we will describe what our recent contributions have been. If some people are representing an entire team, which is part of the process here, that's described in the white paper. And if whatever your individual contribution has been to further the mission, more or less, you mention that, and then the majority of the meeting, or however long it takes, is the group trying to achieve consensus on which contributions are going to get the most amount of respect tokens allocated to them that particular week. And we just basically go through largest to smallest contributions for this particular week. No week is actually fair, as we've discovered, but over time, things are seeming to balance out from the data that we have so far. So actually what's in the white paper, it seems to, we seem to have demonstrated it quite well so far. So that's generally speaking what we're doing, and the main idea that's described in the white paper, like why are we here, why are people spending time on their Saturdays and stuff. It's this idea of collaborative value and figuring out how can we incentivize working together so that we can achieve more collectively than we could possibly just as an individual. And there's lots of kind of examples of that. There's an example that Dan likes to use of a brick. Like if everybody has just one brick in a town or a community or something, you can't really do much with that one brick, but if everybody puts their bricks together, you could build a wall for the security of the town, which I think is a very good example. So if you have any questions, let us know. To really fully participate, you would need to have a Hive account. So if you don't have one of those, just let us know in the comments, and I can drop the link so you can set one up real quick. And then also you'll want to sign the Fractally contributor agreement like everyone else has, which is just commenting on this hive.blog post.
Okay, well, thanks for the intro. I have just been curious about it. Don't understand it to the point that I can explain it to someone else, and I'm just curious about learning more. I don't have a Hive account, so I'll check out that link.
Okay, I'll drop that link for you. Well, and good to see you and glad to have you here. And thanks, Mark, for mentioning that. So on that link, there's my apologies, just a moment. On that link, there's several options to create an account. One of the easiest ones might just be the email option or the phone option. And it shouldn't be too painful of a process. But let me know in the chat if you're having issues. Was somebody trying to speak a moment ago?
Matt Langston has his hand up.
Go ahead, Matt.
Thanks, Josh. And welcome, Eric. It's really great to see new people here. If anyone on this current call is new, you can reach out to me privately if you'd like to have a discussion about just answering some basic questions, or I'm a little more inquisitive and intimate in a more intimate setting. So I'd welcome that. In addition to the Calendly service that me and Josh have set up, you could do that too. I did want to just kind of acknowledge that I was for the benefit of new people. So please, anyone on this call, please, you can share this personal sort of a testament if you would like. I'm a very private person, and I, spent the better part of 15 years erasing myself from the internet very successfully. And I've sort of come out of hiding because I think what we're doing here is so important and so special. And it only works well when you're transparent and really engaged. And I think I came down on the side that I couldn't have privacy and engagement in a fractal governance effort. I think for me, it was an either or. And so I had to take that leap, very uncomfortable leap. But I just want to acknowledge that it's a hell of a thing to be kind of transparent and with a bunch of strangers who are basically trying to change the world. So I acknowledge that, and please reach out to me privately if you'd like to have more discussions.
Mike says, I'm with you on that, Matt. Thanks for taking the leap. All right, well, we're going to segue into the main event. This is where we kind of have an opportunity, and anyone who's still kind of getting ready to participate has an opportunity to finish those steps, creating the Hive account stuff. And for everyone else, this is an opportunity to kind of ask some questions and do some AMA before we go into our breakout rooms. I guess last week there was so much AMA. We're still digesting that.
The team's been hard at work this week. We've made some really good progress on the underlying technology that I'm really encouraged by. One of the things that we've observed this week is there's an Ethereum project that's talking about fractal DAOs, and they're kind of taking some of the branding that we put around this and repurposing it. So that's a challenge that as a community we will have to face, is how do people take our language and our words to use it to describe something that is not aligned with the principles behind it. It's just, you can, an example I call is organic food. People put the organic label on it, but these days it doesn't actually mean anything about it actually being organic. But because they've just used the word so often. Another example is DAO. What is a DAO? It had a very specific meaning when I coined the term or DAC to describe Bitcoin back in 2013. Now, they use DAO to describe centralized organizations with centralized treasuries that are not autonomous in any way, shape, or form. It's become more synonymous with a transparent organization run on a blockchain. So in theory, Apple could be a DAO if they just publish their HR system on the blockchain and their payroll system on the blockchain, because they've got shareholders that vote for a board, which then selects leaders. Well, that's no longer but it still has private assets held by that on behalf of the group. So I guess I can take a brief moment. Oh, we got a question here. Eric, do you have a question? Or just sorry, that's just a applaud.
I do.
Okay. So one of the things that differentiates a DAO from, oh, you have a question? All right, Eric.
I didn't want to interrupt you. Go ahead and finish, and then I'll ask the question.
Okay. A DAO owns no property. It cannot hold assets. This has been a question for things like Eden, where they wanted to come up with a plan for who owns the Twitter handle on behalf of the community, who owns the domain names, who owns various servers and other assets, but who owns the treasury of the organization. And a true DAO is just a consensus opinion of a group of people. There is no communal ownership of things, tangible things in the real world. To achieve the effect of that, you have people, members of the DAO, which own things. So let's say Josh owns a particular domain. It's his property, but we've got collateral. His reputation with the community is what's on the line. If he doesn't use the domain according to the community's consensus use of it, he loses that collateral. And it's only indirectly that the community exercises influence over the real world, over tangible things. He is not a custodian on behalf of the community. The community is just trusting him, and he's trusting the community. So we create those incentives, and as a community grows and as its currency gains value, that can be a sizable amount of leverage you have over someone, but it's not a controlling ownership style relationship. And there's massive legal distinctions between, are you holding this on behalf of someone else? Or is this just a bunch of individual people that hold property that is their property, not the group's property? But the group can change their opinion, take the collateral, and so on. And that's how you can facilitate inter-blockchain communication. That's how you avoid the regulations with respect to one person owning property on behalf of a group of other people, which is the defining characteristic of a corporation. A corporation is an artificial person which holds property, title to something, on behalf of a group of shareholders. And there's some governance process that they use to allocate it. And the rest of the world respects that opinion. And so DAOs have turned, the language for DAOs has transformed. And so I want us to be aware of their language of fractal. And what does it mean to be a fractal governance or a fractal DAO? And part of the challenge is we released the ideas in the white paper 3 months ago. We've been building the infrastructure to support it. And meanwhile, the rest of the Ethereum community and so forth, they take those ideas, they release something that has a similar marketing message, but doesn't have any of the meat behind it, and it dilutes us. And so that's part of the reason why we've been playing some things close to vest until we're closer to releasing, so that we can we can secure all that. So that's what I have to say, Eric.
You're muted.
One of the things that has kept me here is I'm just very interested in how decentralized governance, which continues to be worked out and thought about, could apply to SMEs, which my wife and I started. And it's that last I put in the chat, just consensus over forkable information. So in the end, there's no this, there's no that. There's just consensus over forkable information. And so how
Over what kind of
SMEs
information?
Forkable?
Forkable, okay. Mm-hmm.
How could DAOs that look like SMEs disrupt the world?
Oh, what's an SME? Sorry.
Small, medium size enterprise?
Okay. How could they disrupt the world? Well, they could replace pretty much everything government's doing today. They can replace pretty much all charities. They can replace all insurance companies, and they could transform religious organizations. So one of the things that I mentioned last week, and I'm going to dive into more, is information is inherently centralized. Information, as we came into the internet world, we went from a bunch of mom and pop stores all over the country, each serving their local community, many newspapers all over the world, each serving their local community, to 2 or 3 massive information sources. Everyone in the world has access to the same thing. The information itself is centralizing. Consensus mechanisms, blockchain ledgers, Bitcoin, as they grow, the information is centralized, and there's more and more dependence on that one source of information. Since information is inherently centralizing, the infrastructure for tracking that information is also inherently centralizing. As it gets bigger and bigger, not everybody can be close to the source. It's too costly. And so now you have brokers between the information source that distribute it out to the people. And then those brokers end up being the governing agencies. It's like Twitter, public square, but the broker is the CEO who gets to boot people when he wants to without any consideration of the people. So information systems will naturally centralize, particularly when they benefit and they're more valuable because of network effects with scale, which means we need a governance process that can ensure that the power stays with the people and not with the infrastructure providers. So we need a decentralized governance process over centralized resources, which are inherently centralizing. And we need artificial limits on scale. If we allow things to scale indefinitely, just because it's cheaper, and it's always cheaper to do things at scale than to have redundancy. Freedom and independence requires redundancy. Redundancy means extra expenses, which means more expensive, which means people have incentive to defect. Everyone shops at Walmart because it's cheaper, and the mom and pop go out of business, and then Walmart has a monopoly. Even though everyone would be better off paying slightly more for the mom and pop than paying slightly less to Walmart. The incentive is to defect towards centralization. And it requires community and community accountability and these decentralized organizations using fractal governance can provide that accountability to people to say, hey, we don't shop at this store, we shop here because we're gonna have redundancy. We don't grow bigger than this because X, Y, and Z. And that's why I think the fractal governance process can help small, medium-sized businesses and enterprises to govern themselves in a way that even though they're centralized, they can still be aligned with the public good. And they're forkable, which means that you can have competition, but you can only have that competition if you limit the scale. How do you fork Google? The scale and the knowledge and the infrastructure required to replicate what they have is not easily forked. You double their expenses, and then they don't have the revenue to support twice as much infrastructure. And to provide the same level of service, you need all the data because everyone wants to be able to search the internet for things. So that's the, I guess, long, winding answer to your question.
Could be a good time to mention that there's also a blog post on the website. What is a DAO? And it's also right in the beginning of the white paper. It's a good thing to reference and mention to people. I think the subject of DAOs is still relatively unknown, and hopefully Fractally is going to appeal to people who maybe aren't so interested in crypto and they just want to apply it, to their situation. But it is an interesting situation that we're in where the market sentiment has decided a DAO is something very basic that's not really true to the definition. And fractals can be like in a type of DAO that people start to become aware of, maybe as kind of a bridge point at the moment. So we have to kind of get good at understanding the landscape of so-called DAOs today and how to shift people's viewpoint about it. Like, oh, this is, I see what you're intending to do here, but just so you know, maybe this isn't the way to say it, but this isn't really a DAO. Here's what a DAO really is. So if you want to move in that direction, here's a place you can go that can help you do that.
Yeah, so a fractal is something that's kind of composed of smaller units that compose and make bigger units that have the same structure, right? The galaxy looks like a hurricane, looks like what's going on at the atomic level, right? That's kind of fractal in nature, and governance needs to be fractal. That's where the governance that we use here among people needs to look like the governance among counties, and governance among counties needs to look like the governance among states, and so on and so forth. And that is why we call it fractals, because you've got democracies of democracies of democracies, where each democracy is run using the same principles, not the principles of traditional democracy, not the people directly voting for the president of the United States, but selecting local leaders and then going up. So we group into random groups of 6, we pick the top one and they go to another level up. And then we've got teams and then so forth. But that's where the word fractal comes in. It's time to start our breakout session. So we can pick that up later.
Rooms are open. Everybody have fun.
Hello, everyone.
Hey, everybody.
Hi, Felix.
Great to see you all.
Hey guys, how's it going?
Good.
Hey, Jay.
Hey, Toby. Hey, Dan.
Hey, Jay and Toby and everybody. Great to see you all.
I hope my sound is well, my voice clear.
Nice to meet you, Gore.
Well, are we going to
I'm
be
able
able
to
to
hear.
use Gore's tally machine?
Yes.
Yes. Can you post the link again in our breakout room chat?
Yes.
And I guess the first question, does everybody agree that we should test out Gore's tally machine?
Sure.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And by the way, I was muted by accident before, but I was saying hi, everybody, and great to see you all. And also nice to meet you, Gore, as well. I've been following your work. It's really cool.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yes, I have updated it for today, so it's ready to be used.
I'm operating on a cell phone, so I'm an old man with fat fingers, but your tool is so cool, Gore, that I think I'll even be able to, even though I'm an old man on a cell phone, I think I'll be able to use it.
Yes, it's very easy. Just go to galaxy.do, choose your name, choose room, June 4, room 4.
Oops.
And then and then we proceed with our discussion, and in parallel we can use this tool for voting.
Which room are we on? Oh, I think I accidentally voted for myself. I just meant to just type my name in. Do I not have to do that? And then which room do we pick?
Dan, that you default in at voting for yourself, and then you can do a drop down click and it'll give you options.
Oh,
So you
okay.
switch your
Interesting. Okay, cool.
You go choose and then got it.
Okay. And then what room do we pick? You said room 4 or something like that, or?
Yes, we all should go to room 4.
Okay.
The same in our Zoom.
Interesting.
You can see that. And
that cool?
yes, I can see 4 people here. Felix, Slimefish, Dan, Toby,
yeah.
and Jay. And one more is Machine Bird Sparrow, Machine Bird Marco, and one more waiting for Marco.
Good. So shall we get started with our
Yes.
conversation? Who wants to start?
Would you like to go first, Toby?
Yeah, I guess I'll go for it. I'm the one talking. Good. So quick intros for those who don't know me. My name is Toby. I am by profession a medical doctor, but by, let's say, a day-to-day life entrepreneur. I recently started a business called The Quantix that measures the impacts of climate change on financial institutions. I just exited from that business. It was really successful. That was about 2 months ago. Now I'm working for a business called Morningstar in commercialization, so taking new products and new ideas to market. That's really what I love doing, taking new ideas and products, building business out of them. My contribution this week was not huge, but basically what I did is we're on a team. So I'm on a team called Fractally in Orbit with Jay Taylor, who's here actually too. Our goal is to essentially build infrastructure for Fractally that's decentralized in nature, obviously, but that's also jurisdictionally agile. So the goal is to have, let's say, block production that's done in space in an area where there's no jurisdictions or regulations from different governments that can come and prevent potential scaling growth of what we're doing. So that's kind of the team that we're building on. We had a team meeting yesterday. We're still working kind of the business model, the structure, how we're going to construct this, but I'd say we're progressing well. That was it for me. That's my update.
Cool. Sounds awesome, Toby. You're up to a bunch of awesome stuff. Thanks so much. And also, I just want to say too, I forgot to say it before, that I'm recording right now, and I'm planning to share it on social media at some point as well.
Good. Do you want to go? So go for it, Jay.
Oh, Jay. Okay, so my name's Jay Taylor. I'm a lawyer by profession, and I've fallen in love with this Fractally process. It was real helpful and compelling, I think, to hear Dan Larimer's work and the evolution of his progress towards trying to help facilitate the creation of small communities that can work together in a way with fractal governance. So I'm very happy to be participating with the experiment. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
I was hearing some feedback. And so this week, as Toby mentioned, I'm also on the Fractally in Orbit project. And so I put some time into working on that. And so we've had a meeting this week. And as he stated, we're trying to hammer out a helpful organized outline to practical steps to get to the point of, and it looks like really intensive interaction with the new chain that Fractally is building so that we can be tooled up and understand the technology enough to help in a way such as, obviously, one of the first steps would be there'll be a certain type of block producer type entity. So we want to learn how to do that. And so we're trying to be tooled up to be ready to go to learn that process. It's interesting because I'm a delegate on Eden, and then I also am trying to provide constructive input for the future of the EOS mainnet chain. And so I spent several hours this week trying to carve out a pathway where I'm just hopefully a voice of reason for them. One of the things that I did this week along those lines. And I realized it's kind of a tangent to fractally, but because we're trying to create a snowball for our new evolution of what I would call the EOS mainnet, it's a Dan Larimer next project, is that to kind of help bring the community, keep us together, and help us see the benefits in evolving into a better, more fruitful, safe, secure, wise design of the fractal process. And so I spent several hours this week doing that. One of them was with a partner of mine now, Doug Wu. We did a celebration of June 1, and June 1 is the anniversary of EOS. And so he did a 24-hour long celebration of EOS on June 1, which I spent several hours participating in. Part of the benefit there is to create an internet presence. And so Doug Wu's a main online talking machine maniac, and he's very, he has a broad base of knowledge, and he's a compelling, happy personality. I'm bumping up against my 3 minutes. And so I invest a lot of hours trying to create a breakthrough of some type of a foothold on an internet presence for us. Thanks.
Sounds great. Thanks, Jay. Would anybody like to go next?
You want to nominate somebody, Jay?
Yes. Gore. And
Yeah.
Gore, is it, do you like to be called Gore, or what should we call you?
Yes, Gore.
Gore, okay.
Yes, I can go next. I started this week few fractal groups with my friends, and those are fractal groups where we decided to contribute by sharing inspiration and sharing empowering messages to each other. So that's what we started to do. And at the end of the week, we'll try to apply a fractal process to evaluate how important, how was every one message in the group, how much inspiration it gave to the group. And yeah, I'm trying to introduce, to make to increase global awareness of this process in this way.
That's great. How many, can I ask a question? How many members and friends do you have that are working together in your group?
Yeah, I actually make like two groups, one with my Russian friends and one with English speaking friends. And I'm trying to make them both full of 6 people, and then to get more people to create new groups. So when I was introducing today this concept to a new friend, I tell him to create his own group and invite also 4 other people in this group, like to invite his friends. And in this way, very simple, he created another, like 3rd group, where he will invite his friends. And in this group, the 6 people, everyone have to record audio message with something inspirational for this group, something that's the simplest contribution to the group is just to use voice to empower, to give inspiration. And how I explain how to motivate to actually make effort to share something important is through fractal process. At the end, of in each cycle, when everyone shared his message, they will be able to come to consensus to the ranking, who get the most important contribution. And then if this works out, if it makes sense for them, then we can try to distribute, I think, tokens that will be like separate from as in white paper. Each community, like Genesis, has its own token, and it would be like separate a fractal that I want to call like a voice fractal, where so then these people who are in each group, for 6 people, they for the next cycle they'll be randomized again into random groups, now not with their friends but with people who they don't know, and then they will be sharing inspiration again to people who they don't know, and we'll be getting this voice tokens at the end of each cycle. So for now, I just make it like in Telegram and WhatsApp chat. But if it works, I'm designing application for it where people would be able to record audio messages and then follow fractal voting to make token distribution.
Wow, Gore, that is very well stated and very inspiring and exciting, and I think you're going to be a one-man viral machine. It sounds very powerful. Your vision, that sounds great. Did you want to? Are you finished? And did you want to pick the next person?
Yes, thanks. Next, maybe Felix.
Okay, cool. Thank you, Gore. All right. So I guess I haven't really said too much. I like how Jay and Toby kind of announced their professions outside of this, so I'll do the same. So my profession is I'm an engineer, but I'm working on becoming more of a content creator. And then, so like what I've done this last week for Fractally is I've been working with Dan and then also like we have a group going on within Eden. We're starting up at Eden Fractal. So we're going to be doing that every Wednesday, starting this Wednesday. So anyone who's here that's not in Eden or is in Eden, and I encourage you guys to come over and get involved over there, because I think, as far as I'm aware, this is going to be the first one outside of this fractally Genesis that's actually applying this method, and we're going to be allocating respect every week. And then we've got ideas of including NFTs and EOS. So so we had that on Wednesday, that meeting. Dan, Singjoy, and I were also working on. So tomorrow we're going to be doing an Eden Town Hall event. We did a couple weeks ago, but we've been these last 2 weeks have been really working on trying to refine it and come up with a show. So the idea behind that is going to be discussing weekly Eden highlights. And so I know Eden is a little off from fractally, but we're obviously through this new Eden Fractal, we're trying to bridge that gap. And then I do see, that show. We do have, some topics for tomorrow where we are going to bring up, the fractally process. So that's spreading, the fractally governance ideas, and trying to get people from Eden and EOS to kind of understand and get a little bit more on board. I feel like there's been a lot of like animosity probably towards Dan Larimer. People are just upset that he's not building on EOS. So I think some people don't even, give fractally a second thought after, maybe coming in once or twice and they were upset because they were ranked last or whatever. So I think this having a fresh way with, newer people kind of leading the fractally process will be a great way to kind of get people to get a second glance at it and then hopefully grow, and then people will be more interested in possibly coming over to the Genesis group as well. So yeah, that was my little spiel of what I've done this last week, and I'm excited. I think momentum is building. I'm gonna just keep it going. So with that, I guess I'll hand it off to Dan to go next.
Okay, cool. Sounds great. Thanks, Felix, and thanks Toby and Jay and Gore for the great contributions as well. I'm looking forward to hearing yours too, Marco. So as Felix was talking about, I've mostly been working on this week with Felix and also Marco and Jay and several other Eden members on starting up an Eden fractal, and we made a lot of exciting progress this past week, and we're really excited to start it up this week. So I built the website. It's kind of a quick website at edenfractal.com that you can check out, and it's very basic right now. As Felix was saying, we're planning to do the first event on this Wednesday at June 8th at 13 UTC. So everybody's welcome to attend, and I think it will be the first time that we're really doing the fractally process outside of this fractally Genesis group, and it's a new fractal that we're starting with Eden and EOS, which seems like a really great place to start it. So I totally agree with what Felix was saying, and thanks so much everybody for helping. It's been really cool, exciting. You can go there, you can RSVP. I also just made some art, or I made some art over the past few months about Eden and fractals with trees and stuff, and I kind of just selected some of the top selling points or top marketing things to attract people, things that people might be interested in. So I wrote about helping Eden, earning EOS. I raised about 500 EOS with Eden creators in Pomelo and Eden as a delegate, and so I'm going to be giving away 100 EOS per week to kind of bootstrap this event, and everybody who attends will get EOS according to the Fibonacci algorithm, and also respect, as Felix was saying, and we're working with some great builders on EOS to figure out how to make that work in the best way, or we'll do it on a spreadsheet or something like that. And it's also just a great way to just meet Eden members and experience fractally and have some really fun times. So yeah, I put together this website. There's also some details here too. Oh, well, first of all, I'll just show briefly, if people aren't familiar, I think I've showed everybody, but maybe Gore, but I've also been building Eden creators for the past year or so, and basically the goal is to create amazing content to help everyone cooperate fractally, make the best experience possible. And one of the other goals, in addition, making music and videos and so forth, to help people understand the benefits of fractally, is also just to create many fractals for all sorts of fun and helpful purposes. So I think that Eden Fractal can be a great way to lead with that. And I also spoke about it with Felix and Marco and Jay. I think we were all there at the Moving Eden Forward meeting that Josh Racimo's been hosting this Wednesday, and the past couple of Wednesdays we've been organizing it, and that's kind of transforming into the Eden Contributors or Eden Fractal. We're still kind of figuring out exactly the brand and how we'll do it. You can check out details on edenfractal.com, where it just has kind of a brief overview of things that I shared and that Felix explained, and also links to learn more at fractally.com and so forth. And then there's also a link to a proposal on Eden Creators, where it has lots more details that I wrote a few weeks ago about exactly how the EOS could be distributed and various benefits of it and so forth. There's quite a bit there. You can see at edencreators.com/fractal forums, or rather edencreators.com/edenfractal. I also purchased the name Fractal on EOS, so I can make eden.fractal and also make eos.fractal and music.fractal and stuff like that in the future in a name bid. So I'm excited about that. And then I also promoted the event for the first time publicly at the EOS Fireside Chat. I spoke about it for 5 months. I spoke over 5 months. 5 minutes, and I just kind of gave a brief overview. And then I also spoke about it on the EOS Hot Sauce this week too, where I also spoke about it for a few minutes and just kind of gave a tour of the website like I'm doing here, and invited everybody to join. And then I've also been working with Felix. Felix, thanks so much for starting up the Discord, and we've just been talking a little bit in Discord to help get this going. So I took a screenshot there, and then I also featured on the Hot Sauce and invited people to come. And I also made a Twitter account for Eden Fractal, and then Patrick from Nova Crypto made a tweet with a mind map for Eden Fractal, and I retweeted it from a couple accounts and said thanks and stuff. And it's a great way to learn more about just find different links to the Discord and to the event and stuff like that, and it looks really cool. So I'm grateful for Patrick for that. And then I also spoke about it briefly on this week's Fractal and EOS brainstorming sessions as well. And then that's it. Thanks everybody for listening, and I hope you enjoyed. And it would also be great to see you there too if you can make it on this Wednesday. And feel free to ask any questions.
Ooh, a nice website, by the way.
Thank you very much. I'm not much of a. I only have very like basic website making skills, but I was able to just put it together quickly, and so someday it'll be a lot better, hopefully. But I'm glad you enjoyed it, and thank you.
Yeah, it's simple, but it works.
Yep. Thank you.
So I guess Marco would be last but not least.
Hey guys, I'm exhausted today, so sorry about that. I also, it's my second week as part of the EOS Foundation team. That was second team started to promote fractally, use the tech, and really bridge to EOS across cultures and languages. So it's not just language, but the language aspect is a big deal. And central around that is a transcribe me technology and using some AI and an automated workforce. But first, what I contribute, I write EOS Weekly, and in there I've been chronologizing the for over the past year how fractally got started. Before that, the ENF. So I have a bit of a timeline that I'm working on to put all that together on a site that received a little bit of a Mello grant. So when that's done, you'll see the fractal idea come into manifestation from when the team was originally called Clarion OS. And simple things that people don't that they overlook. The Clarion OS team, or the fractally team, gave us Eden, and a lot of times the Eden people talk about Eden technology without recognizing that. So fractally and Eden were all part of the plan. I believe that's important stuff, and along those lines, one of the new things I've been doing personally this week, and I introduced it to the ETF team, the translation team, is flash consensus, with the purpose of bringing critical ideas that the community may have into manifestation, because we're starting to centralize information, as Dan had said, around the ENF. That can be dangerous in the most prevailing way, that community voices can get not silenced, but harder to hear. And for new members, that's tough. So the flash consensus is a simple thing of just putting out, preparing a sentence that can fit on a Twitter, starting with that, and then everybody voting on that. It can take like 5 minutes. And anyone could join. I talked about allocating team respect, maybe some EOS to that. And members would probably take a larger role in that, but anyone could join to have their voice heard. And if the people at the meeting agree, one, it's a great way to get rid of FUD. If it's a critical idea that people hadn't thought of or articulated, that could get voted to the top, and then they could be disseminated through the community. I invited a few people. I didn't press any hard on that. Now, as far as some of the team stuff, you guys probably know some of the stuff that's been going on with the team. Jay mentioned Dr. Wu. He held a 24-hour marathon anniversary. He put that in team contributions, among other things. Mark Elfner, may know him as Earthman, provided a list of what the team's doing. I'll just pretty much go into the translate me stuff. Really working with the ESPs in a big way, also with Nova Crypto. And essentially the idea is they're you have people willing to translate and work for whatever the job board is listing. And then you have an AI that comes together and says, "This is a priority issue," and then it checks to see if it's it sends it back to us to see if it's accurate, and it sends it back out if it needs work. All that stuff is connecting to blockchain technology, is in development, and is going to be I hesitate to say customized, but just for brevity, can be customized for ESBs, I know crypto, a couple of other ones that I forget. Pomelo 3 is being worked on, and remember, Translate Me at the heart of it has fractally, even though it's connecting over to EOS. Dan and Felix and others mentioned this is a big one that I love, the Eden fractal and how that's taking shape, because it's hard to imagine that any big part of Eden is not part of fractally, especially from what Chuck McDonald said about wanting to get the community more engaged, have more meetings rather than just once every quarter. Yeah, there's a list of other stuff that's in development as far as deliverables. The main thing is that a 4-year anniversary from the team, the US Weekly, and some Translate Me stuff is seen, but not really by the community, more the people getting involved, like Jesse from the Bees. And I think Noah Crypto is a little bit more complex, but there's another one out there. Some SEO stuff has been done. And last week, I took in 2 rank points.
What was Marco? What was the last sentence? Last week, you what?
Took in 2 rank points.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, this was, I was just going to close it out. Web3, we're looking at distinguishing between Web3 and Web2 for the community. I'm not going to say more about that unless anybody wants.
Okay, I see Felix just shared a PNG in the chat showing people's amount of total respect, it looks like. Is that correct, Felix?
Yeah. Yeah, so everyone in this room just highlighted, so we have an idea of where everyone kind of stacks up right before we, kind of get into our voting, so we can use this as a metric. I'm hoping ideally, like once the Fractally software gets, created, that we'll have some feature like this. I know Matt created a pretty cool dashboard too, if anyone didn't see that. That has like it kind of has like all of our data of like how much respect has been minted and all that organized in different graphs, and it's pretty cool to look at.
Yes, I agree. And then in the meantime, thanks for setting that. This is helpful to do our voting and so forth. I suppose I'll start just by saying I noticed that Toby and Gore have the lowest in the list right now, and both of you guys are doing both really interesting projects too. And I don't know how much time we really have to discuss it, so maybe we should just jump right into voting. But I was curious about like how far along in the progress it is. Like I know Gore mentioned like some really interesting plans for starting with I think the 2 groups, and you said something like you're talking about Russian friends and actually starting like a new respect token and respect fractal and stuff like that. And then Toby was talking about a bunch of really cool stuff, and then Jay was saying that you guys are working to help with the fractally chain. So I don't know if that's going on too much of a tangent, but I am interested in learning more about that at some point from generally how far in the progress of like helping with fractally with these projects you are.
Yeah, maybe I can talk to that. I think the most important one from my end is really the fractally in orbit side. That's what we're working on with Jay. And I'd say we're a fairly serious and committed group at this point. So it includes Jay, Doug Wu, it includes Stan Larimer also. So Dan Larimer's dad. It includes Michael, I don't even know his family name. Anyway, a few people I think are quite serious and committed to make this work. We have some financing for the project that actually Stan has for Sovereign Skies for the satellite company to be able to use. We're quite serious about what we're doing. We've been meeting now for about, I think, a month. So, something that we're really, I think our team is committed and we're really building up the business plan. We're at early stages. We're still at business plan stage. So drafting out the document of how this is going to work, how we're going to be scaling this, what's the model, what value are we bringing exactly. And there's still a lot to figure out, but the commitment's there from our team. It's something that I think we're each, working hard on. I have to say though, for this week, I know Jay did a lot more than I did. I was really present at our meeting, thought a little bit about planning the kind of the business in terms of next steps where we want to go. I think his contribution within Fractally and Orbit was larger than mine for this week. That's for sure. Jay, do you want to add to that?
No, I think that's good. Just out of respect for time, also. Thanks.
Cool. Sounds good. Thanks, Toby and Jay.
By default, everyone voting for himself, and if you feel inspired to nominate someone, you can do it and share why you choose this person to be number 6.
Are we not voting for ourselves? What did you say?
That's how it is by default.
Everyone vote for yourself, but then you can choose to nominate someone.
Like verbally talk about it, or because I'd like to suggest maybe.
You can click choose on application, and you have drop down to choose someone, and then we'll see whom you choose, and you explain why you choose this person.
So I personally put yourself, Gore, just because I think what you're doing is really cool. I think it has a lot of potential to scale Fractally to a lot of people. And also I see that, I guess, like myself, you haven't received much respect in the past. So I think it's worth giving a little thumbs up there. By the way, I'm saying that, but I think everybody here is doing really awesome stuff. I think Dan, seeing the stuff you talked about is amazing. I think Felix too, really cool. So, and yeah.
Yeah, I think the tools that Gore and once Fractally gets in there, it's going to really transform how we experience it and what we can do.
Marco, do you see how the drop down for the number 6 works, where you can just click on the down arrow to open up who you can vote for to change your vote?
I do.
Okay, cool.
Can you guys see the results yet?
It looks like it's unanimous for Gore, except Marco's, yours hasn't logged in Gore yet.
I don't see the results. How do I see that?
So did you change the fractal?
Oh, here we go. Here we go. All right. Well, the reason I'm going to vote for myself, and it doesn't matter because you guys already voted, is the Flash consensus and the community awareness. Again, I've been writing it for over a year, the newsletter, and I saw the argument against B1. And I'm not going to say it's better than it is today, but there was 2 points of view. And even though the ENF started with the core developers, and I totally believe in it and all that, the danger of that is echoed throughout history. And it's not something anybody is either paying attention to or willing to stand up for. As a pilot, honestly, I don't care because I can fly around. But as people who drive around in cars, a community like that, and a community that follows the transportation of goods deliverable by trains, civilizations built up like that, you essentially get bottlenecks in this, and those bottlenecks come at power points, and those power points are cities. Again, it's echoed throughout history, and I'll continue to press it until one or two things happen. It's irrecoverable, spiral, or someone else takes a handoff.
Wow. Marco, so to the extent that I understand the concept of your Flash consensus. And
You put out a bullet point, you prepare a sentence that can fit on Twitter, that can be shared on Telegram. That's just a initial idea, totally open to anybody changing it up if it's better. So that anyone on Telegram can read your sentence. If it wins, it's already prepared. In 5 minutes, whoever's come.
I love it. I love it. And it seems like there's a purposefulness behind the Flash consensus. If I understand you correctly, you're suggesting that, hey, this global community, I want to play the role of air traffic control designer, where we don't want to have.
No, not me.
I mean,
I don't want to play that role. The only thing
no, to architect a system where we can avoid bottlenecks, I think is what I'm trying to say.
So guys, we only have 7 minutes left to reach consensus.
Okay.
Exists already.
Here's a question for Glor. Okay. So you tweaked your algorithm so that it doesn't have to be unanimous. It goes by 2/3.
It should be 5 of 6.
5 of 6. Okay.
In group of 6, 5 of 6. In group of 5, 4 of 5.
Okay, so should we submit our votes? Maybe do we want to submit votes for number 5 all at once and do the kind of blind voting thing that we've done in previous ones? And we'll all click at the same time?
Yes, let's try.
Okay, so on the count of 3, is everybody ready to vote? Or Toby, we can't hear you.
Sorry, just changing tabs. So we just click change, and then we click on the one we want at the count of 3. Is that it? Make sure I got it.
I don't think you have to click. Oh yes, yeah. That's. I don't know if you have to hit change because I just hit my name because I'm currently my name is there. Okay. But yeah, and then you click on that. So I think that could be a good way to go. Unless somebody wants to talk more, but we do need to choose quickly because we have 6 minutes.
Let's do it.
Okay. So ready? 3, 2, 1, go. Okay. It looks like we don't have much consensus.
No. We can go with Toby.
Okay. Yeah. So Toby's got 3, and I know Toby said that Jay done more, but I think what you're doing overall, Toby, is really helpful, and I think that you deserve more respect. I'm super excited to see more of it. So that's why I ranked for you to be number 5 here.
I agree with that. For the record, I absolutely agree with that.
Okay, well, thanks a lot, guys. I appreciate it.
Okay,
yes,
cool.
Change your vote for yourself and then click confirm.
Well,
yeah.
Okay. And like Toby was saying, it's very difficult to choose. Everybody's doing really great contributions, of course.
So does somebody want to do countdown again, or should we talk about it?
No, I think we should get going. 10, 9, 8, 5, 4. I think we're just waiting for Toby and that board. Now it's just score.
Wait, so do we vote already or no?
Yeah, it's Dan.
Oh, okay. I actually didn't realize that we were voting, so it was just my default. So I was planning to vote for Felix, but I'm also happy to do Mia's for too, if that's what we think is best.
Sounds good.
Yeah, I'm always pretty open with voting. My only thing that I guess I don't like, I hate fighting for votes, but at the same time, I am starting to feel a little bit of a need to. So I've been looking at Matt's thing. Like he has his dashboard. He has a thing where it shows the attendance count. So I've been, if like my attendance is up, and I'm like always like for the one that has like my total respect is pretty low, I guess, relative to compared to the consistency. But I mean, if we want to, I'm, like I said, open to. So that's just kind of my little thing of like why I'm pushing to be a little higher moving into these weeks. But I'm fine as well with whatever, because I think things are starting to progress as far as my contribution. So I think I'll speak for itself as
I think you're already in there.
Yep, you got it, Felix.
Felix.
You got 4.
So who's next after Felix?
Okay. Should we go on the count of 5 this
I
time?
think it's Taylor. I think
Oops.
it's Taylor and me left.
Oh, am I, well, am I number 3, are you saying? Or,
I think we're the only two left.
well, we still haven't voted ranked 3rd yet.
Felix, right?
No, we decided that Felix would be number 4 instead of me.
Oh.
Yeah.
So Gore's still left.
So, okay. And I'll vote for myself for number 3.
Oh, I thought Dan, we already chose Dan before Felix.
No, we had me, but I accidentally voted for myself, and I wanted to beat Felix, and then Felix made some good points, and I think Felix, he very much deserves respect, and so everybody changed the vote, or most people did at least. Okay, so it looks like we have consensus on number 3 as me then, and then we'll choose number 2 and 1.
Mm-hmm. Do we do a count, or should we just put what we're thinking?
I think we just say it. There's only two left.
Okay, looks like Marco's got it.
There you go. I feel bad having Jay. I never liked doing the rank 2 and 1 because, like, I think Jay did a lot this week, and I think Marco did too, and it's like, I don't know. Anyway.
Yeah, no, that's that. I've been in number 1 before, and it's like, wait, I have to do more next week.
Yeah.
And so, it's I love the comeback that has been explained. Scientifically, things tend to reach an average over time. So I'm very happy with the process. So I'm not worried about. It's very hard to hurt me.
Good.
Well, sounds good. Thanks for doing it gracefully, Jay. And yeah, I agree, Toby. It's always difficult. It's a good challenge and a good way to learn and stuff. But yeah, it's a long-term process. So.
Okay, so I think we're done with the rankings then.
Yeah, I suppose if somebody could, or maybe I'll just copy and paste it so that we can easily copy and paste into Hive. I'm sorry, Gore, if you were saying something there.
We should explicitly choose the number 1.
Yeah.
What's that?
Dan, you have to cast your vote for number 1.
Oh, sorry about that. Jay. Okay, and then also Felix has to do it too, I believe, if that's correct.
Yeah.
But
closing out, I posted. I think is right.
That's not correct, yeah. Marco, because Gore was before Toby.
Was he?
Yes.
We have 40 seconds for somebody to bust that.
There's no spelling error, is that right? It looks like it's good as far as that goes.
I don't think so, but I did verify.
And also there's a galaxy thing.
The page remains available by this link to check to see results. It's
okay.
Public link.
Cool. Well, yeah, thanks so much again for building this tool, Toby, or rather Gore, and it was great meeting you. And thanks everybody so much for the great meeting and all the great work.
There it is.
Thanks, guys.
Take care.
Yep, same. Nice seeing everyone.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Thanks very much.
Recording in progress.
Is our room the only one that got done? Oh no, there's a bunch of people here. All right.
Dan, I think you're muted.
There's some weird sound coming in too.
Somebody's mic is tapping. Who's that? All right. So, all right. Thank you everyone for coming today. I'd like to take a moment to talk about some real world applications within ordinary business for this process. A, to get your feedback on if you were an employee of one of these companies, what did you think? And B, to inspire more people to adopt this and spread the concept of fractal governance. And the particular use case I'm bringing up is paying bonuses. How do you do reviews for bonus allocation within a company? You got 100 employees. Which employees have contributed the most toward the company's mission and vision, as judged by the other employees? And the way companies typically do that is you have your reviews, your manager reviews you. Sometimes the employees review the manager, and the manager kind of ranks them and allocates and divides some kind of bonus pool, and it's all top down, managers giving bonuses to next layer and down and so forth. It doesn't really leverage wisdom of the crowds. It's the established hierarchy can be abused. There's lots of potential for favoritism or people who maybe the manager is not doing all the work, the assistant manager is doing the work, but the manager is taking all the credit. And so it's very difficult to bubble up who's actually making the company successful. So if you've got a company with a reasonably large number of people, I'm probably saying at least as many people as we have here, 30 plus, you can use this process to rank people, and then every quarter allocate bonuses and or stock options according to the Fibonacci distribution, just like we're doing here. That way you tap the wisdom of the crowd of all your employees to figure out which employees are doing the most for the purposes of the company, while avoiding the problem of cliques and friend groups colluding, or managers in small teams colluding to kind of promote themselves or not wanting to offend their team, right? It's like, oh, I'm on a team with 5 people I work with every single day. I'm going to rank everyone highly because I don't want to be a person. But when you randomize them, you break up those political parties and you start saying who's actually known for providing value to the company's vision and company's goal. I think it was Eric has a pizza business with 80 employees, and he's thinking about trying something like this. And I'm going to recommend this to some other businesses I know that have similar situations. But that's an application of this in the real world, and it can start with just your bonuses, and it can extend it to a larger percentage of your salary if it's successful. But that's a use for fractal governance.
If you have any questions, just go to reactions and raise your hand.
Yes, Gregory? You're muted.
I was in the breakout session with Dan and Eric and others, and I think it was a great idea. Eric's pizza business, he has 80 employees, and he wants to implement a bonus solution for his business to recognize the contributions that are made. I think it's an excellent idea for him to, first of all, be open-minded to that thought process, and second, desirous to implement that. I think it would not only benefit the people, benefit the business as well, but continue to build on the culture that his business is built. And I'm sure that customers will see a difference as well. So thank you, Eric, for presenting that.
Jason?
The way you said that brought something to mind that I'd never seen about tallying respect and the way we do these meetings. That's super valuable, and I hadn't seen it as a contribution to this, which is when I had to do a review every year when I worked in a regular company, and I had to write the review based on like what I did this year and all of that stuff. And I never had the experience of feeling free to kind of tout myself and share what I'd accomplished and all that other stuff. 20 years I worked at that company, and every single review was difficult. But in these meetings, after the first meeting was tough, but after the first meeting, I saw 5 other people saying, here's what I accomplished, here's what I accomplished, here's what I accomplished. And it just got really easy the next meeting to just kind of cut and dry. I did this, I did that, I did this, I did that. And not only are my contributions being ranked, I think, far more fairly in this community than they were there, and totally by my responsibility, right? I just wasn't speaking up effectively there. But I have the experience of being able to speak up effectively here, almost as if I had read 5 random people's reviews from my company and said, oh, okay, we're all doing stuff. I'm not being arrogant by saying I'm getting things done. I'm not pretending to be better than anybody by saying I'm getting things done. I'm just getting things done, and I'm telling people what I'm getting done. And there's a bunch of silly interpersonal stuff that makes a mess in things previous to this type of meeting, but it's just way easier to just share your contributions in this kind of community, especially with a small group of people like this, 6 people that basically I'm not accountable to. I've got no reason to try to impress these people. And so there's just all of this stuff that would normally stop me from just saying what I did that's not stopping me here. It's a lot freer and a lot easier to do this. And the opportunity to rank contributions across an entire company this way would be incredible. You know, because there would be people who just wouldn't speak up in their review. And also people in another department who just wouldn't know what that guy did and be like, hey, that's really cool. That's going on over there. I had no idea that was going on over there. But the randomization of putting these people into groups and saying what got done is like, you know, I just learned about a couple of things that got done that somebody thought I was good at. And I was like, okay, well, yeah, maybe I'm good at that. And it turns out Matt Langston is way better than that, way better at that than I am. And so I'm now like saying, don't even talk to me about this. I'm not the expert, Matt Langston is. But I didn't know that until I got into this group. And then Matt Langston tells me, hey, what you're doing is really, really important to what I'm doing. So thank you for doing what you're doing. And I wouldn't have gotten that that was important to him. I was just doing it because I was doing it. So the creation of community and the ease with which I can share what I've done and also experience the value of it to other people is just really huge here as compared to the normal way of doing bonuses and doing reviews and all that other kind of stuff that just never worked. And this really does work.
By the time you get to the end of the year, you forgot what you did 6 months ago.
Totally.
Right. And,
absolutely.
Yeah. And it's 1 point measurement, right? We're doing a measurement every single week, and we have the premise. These are flawed measurements. No single ranking is it, but what it is it's over time. And so if a company is willing to invest 1 hour per employee per week to this process, the fruit will be the employees, the entire company having better knowledge about what the right arm is doing, right? The left and right arm actually talk to each other. So you have increased communication and you have increased discovery of collaboration opportunities within the company. And you free people from certain constraints. Now there's still no one here, I guess, within certain teams, right? The faculty team might feel like they have to keep me happy as the CEO of the company, but there might be a parallel hierarchy that might influence some people's decisions depending on which group they're in. That would be an interesting dynamic to study. But I think if you had a culture where team leaders and the team self-organized, kind of like we're doing here, then as the CEO, you kind of like pay teams to get things done, and the teams pick the leader and they self-organize, and now you've got a much better HR process for identifying the talent. But the executive, the visionary, that's trying to steer the ship, still has the leverage that they need to funnel the money and into the teams. So I think it's a really good way to balance old hierarchies with a vision, with wisdom of the crowds, and team morale. I think it could be good for team morale if they had the right culture.
Yeah,
Especially people are forced to rank each other instead of just giving everyone 5 stars.
Well, yeah, and they're forced to rank themselves too. And a lot of people are going to discover that their contribution was more valuable than they expected.
Yep, or if they were overvaluing their contribution.
They'll get that adjusted as well. I think, at least in this group, what I've seen is most of us tend to undervalue our contributions and find out that they're more valuable based on where the other people rank us. But yeah, both directions. It heads toward the middle in both directions effectively. That's all I had to say. Thanks.
Thanks. Douglas?
Hey, so my question is in relation to licensing or what sort of permissions that we have to use the Fractally logo. As far as like being members with a specific like pain point, I guess, like I made a Fractally shirt and I probably should have asked permission, but I sort of figured that we would be allowed to do that. I did look back at the agreement and I didn't see any sort of mention of that. So I'd like to ask for you to clarify that verbally, as well as request that that somewhere is in writing. So if the members desire these shirts, as I have heard, then I did design one, and I would like to send Redbubble back a letter saying that, you know, I do have permission to do this.
All right, this is a complicated challenge. So as a company, we need to protect our brand and control the narrative, and that prevents people from using our brand in ways that would damage what we're up to here. As a community, I want to empower lots of engagement and self-starting and use. So I think we actually need to have 2 different types of logos. One that can be used freely by community members as this is the community's tool to talk about us, and the other that's only used for official communication from Fractally, the company, fractally.com. I will come up with a strategy and present a clearer answer. It's something that we've talked about in the past. We just haven't gotten around to making a recommendation on which assets can be used freely by the community and which ones are reserved solely for our trademark purposes, and so we can maintain our identity in the space. But yeah, it's a good question. And with respect to the Fractally t-shirt, you're okay to make that Fractally t-shirt. I'm not going to hold that against you. All right, Dan.
Cool. Thanks, Dan, and thanks, everybody. There's another thing that I'd like to say that also ties into what Douglas was saying a little bit. I know that time is usually held for questions, but I figure I just want to make a quick promotion that I think is really helpful for the faculty group here. So for the past couple of weeks, I've been working with Joshua Seymour and James and Jay and a bunch of other Eden members to start up an Eden Fractal, and we're still working on the naming and branding in some ways, but we're starting up and we're having the first Eden Fractal event on this Wednesday at 13 UTC. You can check it out at edenfractal.com, and it'd be awesome if everybody can attend, or if anybody has any questions, then feel free to reach out. The thing that I was mentioning that's kind of related to what Douglas was saying too is that I also used this kind of logo from Fractally that I found in the brand kit, so I'd be happy to change that if you don't think that it's helpful, but I felt like it's helpful to help promote Fractally and help grow it. So during this event, we're also giving away EOS. I'm giving away 100 EOS per event. We're planning to do it every week, and we're doing Eden Respect. A lot of Eden members are also with Fractally, you can learn more details on edenfractal.com, and you can check out the Eden Discord that Felix set up to learn more. Basically going to be doing the same exact thing as we're doing here with the Fractally process, but we're doing it with helping Eden specifically, as opposed to specifically just helping Fractally. Sorry if that was out of place at all, because this is questions, but I felt like that's helpful to mention, and I hope that everybody can attend, and I'm looking forward to it very much, and thank you.
Yeah, I love seeing the fractal process being applied to Eden and the pizza places and all these different groups and communities. That's the goal of this fractal, is to see this process adopted, education about this process spread widely, because that's going to make the our blockchain and our services and our public good of educating mankind be successful. So the more groups that experience this, the more groups that have success with this, the more people will want to start applying it to more areas of life. And then eventually people say, why aren't we picking our leaders this way? And that's when the world changes. James, you have a question?
It's a comment related to this topic, but I've echoed this sentiment internally to the Fractally team. I guess I just want to repeat it and say it publicly, but there's just confusion, I think, over the branding, and there's value in separating the brands, because we talk in a Fractally Telegram channel, but we're not, like, that's the Fractally LLC logo, which could just as easily be called like Dan's Super Great Company LLC. This is the Genesis Fractal community. So I don't know, there's at least some argument to be made that we should brand ourselves as our own community, the Genesis Fractal, or come up with some sexy brand, and then that's the thing that we all talk about. And Fractally LLC, the open source software company, is just like a tool builder, and I don't know, that's a perspective.
Yep. Jay, you have a question?
Thank you. So this is an administrative question. I'm hesitant to bring it up because I'm not volunteering to do it, but it was just a thought for community building and outreach, that I remember that we had a Drupal gentleman from India who's part of networking the leadership of Drupal, which is an open source software program, and he was very interested in applying Fractally to that process. And then since that time, I haven't seen him come back and participate in the group. And so it made me think that for outreach purposes, and I'm not trying to pass any responsibilities over to Gregory Wexler, but could we systematize our membership appearance? I mean, not membership, our personal appearances, just so that we have a guest book record where if we want to pull a link from somebody that we met in a Fractally group, we can say we can reach out on a personal level as a community, and just kind of keep open lines of communications to people who have shown interest in the group. And I guess specifically with that person who appeared once, if anyone remembers who he was or his link, then send it to me DM, and that's it. Thanks.
Thanks, Joshua. Joshua, I'm sorry. Thanks, Jade. Joshua and I will reach out to you to see how we could potentially affect that, and perhaps have an optional rule book that people could subscribe to.
That'd be great. Thanks.
All right. Well, if there are no other questions, we can go ahead and wrap up this week, and I'll see you guys same time next week.
All right. Thank you, everybody. This was a fun week, and I'm looking forward to next week. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Encourage you to at least invite one person if you can. And I guess before we wrap up, Jorge has one more question. Are you there?
Perry's got a question. Jorge, you're muted.
Can you hear me?
Now we can hear you. Yes.
Okay. So what's going to be the other time within the week for these meetings?
There is no other time. We're just running, like, putting out a feeler campaign for potentially maybe a second meeting if the community decides that makes sense.
Okay, so there is no agreement yet as to whether do it, and what time would it be, right?
Correct. No agreement.
Thank you.
Harry, you had a question? You're muted.
Yeah, thank you. Dan, I wanted to ask if this is the appropriate time to answer this question, but I'm curious about it, so I'll ask it. What might a transition for Eden onto the EOS mainnet look like? How could that, even considering not too deep in the technical details, but kind of generally, how would that look like? Is that
Sorry, a transition from Eden. Eden is already on EOS. What are you talking about?
Fractally. Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Well, fractally is a bunch of different things, all put together, right? It's a car with tires and wheels and an engine and a transmission and a body. And so if you look at the fractally white paper, you will see that we've got DeFi, we've got liquidity rewards, we've got token standards, we've got social media posting rewards, and then we've got this weekly governance process where we select people and allocate respect, and then we've got teams. We got all these different things, and so to like move that all on the EOS is one thing, but then you've got Eden, which is already on EOS, which does meetings, I guess, every 6 months, maybe a little bit more frequently. If all you wanted to do was effectively put the same stuff we're putting on Hive on EOS, use that information to allocate respect, you could do so. You could even use Zoom for the randomization. You can just use everyone's testimony as to what the groups were, right? That's what I was looking at what we put on Hive every single week, and it's one post and a bunch of people just filling out a form and hitting submit. And with that, you can write a smart contract that would interpret those inputs and allocate tokens accordingly. So there's baby steps that would allow you to get some of this on EOS, but not to move the entire fractal process to EOS. Let me explain one of the problems I see with blockchain in general and information theory. I think I talked a little bit about this in the pre-meeting. Information is inherently centralizing. That we need, if you want to deploy a smart contract to EOS, that's one thing. How do you deploy the user interface? The user interface has to be hosted on a website, and that's completely centralized. That interface goes down, what happens? All right, and that's a real challenge with taking what we're doing with Fractally and deploying that on EOS, and it's really expensive to run an interface because you need to run a full node for EOS, and that requires getting connected in, or you need to pay a service provider to provide you with an API stream to your business, and those service providers are now, of course, centralized. So I've got a chain of centralized dependencies for your application. So those are, I guess, the challenges of, why are we building on a separate chain? It's a lot of those reasons are things that are problems we're trying to solve, and it'd be difficult to move all of that onto EOS directly without a centralized service that's paired with the public part of the EOS blockchain, facilitating it all.
Okay, so if we, assuming that Fractally is going to be on its own chain, and that your vision includes a multi-chain universe, where EOS could be one of those chains, and let's assume that the Eden group came to some collective decision that they wanted to adopt a fractally governance, is it within the plans or within the design that they could choose governance as kind of an a la carte of fractally, and then separate from the other pieces, and just say, well, we're going to start with governance?
If their goal is to distribute EOS tokens according to community consensus, then the easiest way to do it is to have an IBC bridge of EOS tokens onto our blockchain, and then we allocate do all the governance and stuff with our interface, and then when it's all done, send the tokens back to the EOS blockchain. And that will scale EOS, keep costs down for the EOS network, allow people to participate in one account that can be multiple fractals. So you can be in the Eden fractal, you can be in the Genesis fractal, you can be in the Pizza fractal, and in all with one blockchain account. But you're managing things for the benefit of the EOS network. And you could also have the Ethereum fractal and the Bitcoin fractal that's doing the same thing. And it's not even possible to run these contracts on Ethereum or Bitcoin. So I suppose you could run a subset on Ethereum, but imagine having to pay $5 every time you submit your weekly votes. That's what it's like on EOS, sorry, on Ethereum. So does that answer the questions of ways that you can leverage the software that we're doing to build a community that's working to grow EOS? It of course works best if the EOS inflation is directed to fund such a community as well. And that's my real concern, is whether or not EOS is willing to trust fractal governance with enough resources to justify it.
I have to admit, I missed for the most part that whole episode, all of that drama. I had my head somewhere else in the ecosystem. My understanding of that, based on some Telegram conversations, is that there was an offer on the table, and now it's gone from the Fractally team. Is there any offer on the table, or is that's just in the past, and we're moving on, and that's just how that is?
We don't have the bandwidth to pursue two things at once, and so we had to make a choice. And so when we lost our developers to the ENF that we were going to hire, and there's a lot of community dispute over fractal governance, we went our own way, and we can't make the offer because we don't have the resources to pursue both simultaneously. So I still would love to see fractal governance occur on EOS. I think that it's possible to implement a lot of this stuff on EOS, but the full vision of what we're trying to do here is going to be much easier to accomplish on a chain dedicated with all the lessons learned from EOS, with the people that believe in fractal governance reaping 100% of the rewards instead of diluting the rewards from our efforts with those who don't believe in our efforts, which is what would happen if, say, 5% of EOS holders were providing value to the other 95% of EOS holders who didn't believe in what we were doing, didn't want to fund what we were doing, didn't want to subject themselves to our governance process. So I think there's much better alignment of incentives. One of the things that a lot of people might not know, when we were building EOS.io early on, before the mainnet even launched, I had a choice to make. Choice number one is we had a smart contract platform that was capable of thousands of transactions per second, but was only single threaded and had certain limitations. But it was so much better than what Ethereum had. We could launch it, or we could hold it off the market and attempt to make it even more future-proof and iterate. But I made the choice. No, we're going to launch what we have because this is already a better product than anything else on the market at the time. But how do you upgrade? How do you scale that? Well, the way that you upgrade and scale is you pitchfork, you airdrop on a new chain, and then you bridge tokens between the two. Because upgrading in place to go from single-threaded to multi-threaded, or to enhance the consensus algorithm, or to do all the things we want to do, is really, really challenging, and the rate of development will stop, and you just don't have as many degrees of freedom to make the engineering changes that are required. So the plan for upgrading and scaling EOS was always many chains, IBC, and have an entirely new architecture that then bridges to it. So the code that we're working on, there's nothing that stops the EOS community from creating a chain that airdrops a new token on all EOS holders, and then uses the complete fractal governance process, and then does a two-way peg between old and new chain with some amount of mutual respect. And that is a roadmap for upgrading EOS to what we're doing. If there's enough people in the EOS community that believe in making that technological leap. The challenge of doing so is sort of like Apple switching from PowerPC to Intel and then from Intel to ARM. Apple's done a great job of it, but most companies would have a really, really hard time switching from one architecture to the other without really good backward compatibility. And it's even harder to do with network effect things where everyone has to upgrade at the same time. But that's like in order for Apple to advance to the best process and best technologies possible, they had to swap out the CPU. They had to figure out that, and it took them years and years and lots of transition time to do so. I think the blockchain world's the same kind of thing. Each blockchain is a CPU. It's got certain applications on it, and it takes a while to upgrade. So those are ways that I see that the Eden fractal, the EOS fractal, could leverage what we're doing here, the software we're producing that will be open source, to support that particular community.
I don't know if anybody has more time, but I've got more questions. I'm curious, Dan, to ask you how you feel about what ENF is doing regarding EVM and the creation of a new token, and if that new token is issuing a new token is the best strategy for an EVM, and if an EVM is really the place where our attention and our resources and our time should be going, as opposed to innovative, even foundational products or features.
Generally speaking, I think EVM is a dead end. EVM is a technology that supports a certain number of things. It uses custom language, Solidity, to compile to EVM. They're moving toward EWASM in the future. So even Ethereum is moving toward a WASM-based solution instead of a EVM-based solution. So I think it's playing to trying to copy what all the cool popular kids are doing rather than actually innovate something new, thinking that, well, if we're just like them, then we'll win. I think it's kind of, I don't know if that's the right analogy. I was thinking about Steve Jobs killing the clones when he came back to Apple, but it's not quite that. It's the IBM PC compatible situation where, IBM used to have the monopoly on that, and now you have all the people that are compatible with them, and they kind of took over the world, but they weren't actually innovating, and it was hard to use. Meanwhile, Apple's coming out with a graphical user interface with a mouse, and they were 10 plus years ahead of the entire industry, but everyone wanted to copy IBM because that's where all the software was, but that's not where all the innovation was. And I see some of the same kind of things with EVM. Everyone wants to be EVM compatible without consideration to, is EVM or x86 really a good design? And so we've been living with x86 for 30, 40 years. And we're just now getting to the point where people can start to switch to ARM, and where ARM is taking over. But the whole time, I see the problem in the blockchain space is more to do with the user interface than the blockchain. And the EVM is not really a good back-end tool for that. So yes, I think there's going to be a lot of contracts that are on EVM. I think the apps have traction not because of the technology, but because of the social networks around using the different technology. And you can look at Telos and other things that have made certain things EVM compatible. Just being EVM compatible doesn't mean people are going to move over to use. It's not like, oh, now we get this contract. Well, a contract deployed to the blockchain is only one piece. What about the website that provides the interface to the contract and the company that's going to back it? It's not like it's just, oh, now we support this and I can run all these apps. Right? You get a new computer, it's got a Windows emulator, I can run all the Windows on it. Great. Now we can sell more Apple hardware, but that it's not the same when you depend on centralized services and businesses that need to do so. So I don't think EVM is a good use of time, which is, I was the one at Block One who commissioned the original bounty to implement EVM support as a smart contract on EOS. And the theory behind that bounty was to just demonstrate that EOS is so powerful that it could emulate Ethereum inside a smart contract and do so faster and cheaper. It was more of a technology demonstration than a recommended approach for building smart contracts. I think it's a step backwards to go to EVM, and it's a choice made out of fear rather than discussing the virtues of doing things like adding support for Rust or AssemblyScript or other WebAssembly-based languages that could be built on top to make programming easier. You can even, I guess, build a Solidity compiler that compiles to WASM if you want to maintain the language, because no one looks at the actual EVM instructions. But yeah, that's what I have to say there. Cruz?
Yes, Daniel. First of all, thank you for the metaphor regarding EVM. That was also my question, and I love the answer. I'd love to have it written, if it's possible, somewhere in the future, and I would love to translate it to Russian, because this is very important. Because a lot of people believe in EVM and believe in the solidity, and that's going to bring traffic and people and money, all that stuff. And my question is this. Well, that's the first one. My question is this. You have in the white paper a reference regarding referral program. So if I bring somebody into the blockchain, into Fractal, and there is a record on the blockchain that I am the referral of that person, and there is a referral bonus, and I love the idea of like an infinite referral bonus of multi-level, at least multi-level, and even infinite bonus. That is that still on the table? Is that something you're working on?
Yes, that is a key part. When every 5% of everything that you earn goes to the person who brought you in, so long as the person you bring to the table continues to attend the weekly meetings and continues to. And you continue to attend. You can't invite 100 people, stop attending, and collect a paycheck for life. And you can't invite somebody that shows up 3 times and then stop showing up. If they stop showing up someone else gets the opportunity to invite them back, because obviously, that's part of the stickiness incentives of don't invite people to do something that you're not willing to continue to do yourself, and try to collect on their efforts. And so, but if you're already attending every week and you invite other people and they're attending, then yes, you continue to get a cut of everything they earn, not just from this, but from staking and from content that they're producing as well.
Great, thank you. Well, there's one thing I would love to share just a little bit. A year ago, I was away from EOS.io, but I got involved into a blockchain that has a referral program built in. And my experience was that it was spreading like a wildfire. And I started inviting people, and people started inviting other people, and because of these bonuses. And I'd like to give my support and share my experience that if we have that, this is going to help a lot into building the community. And the community is what is making Ethereum the cool kid on the block. Although it's not, it's not cool inside, but it looks like it's a cool kid.
Yeah, and there's a difference between quantity and quality. Right now, we've got a very high quality group of people. And one of the lessons learned from past blockchains is if you don't guard the quality, then all of a sudden you're going to have a bunch of low quality people that come in and steer the direction of the community in a way that's going to destroy the vision of the original founders. The value that we're trying to create for ourselves would be co-opted toward something else. So maybe you get some referral rewards in the short term because you helped a lot of immigrants across the Mexico border. Nothing against Mexicans. I'm just saying that you have people that have no resources coming for free stuff. And that free stuff comes at the expense of the people that are already here. It's not actually growing what we're doing. What we want to do is recruit people that rank highly in the weekly meetings because they're contributing to the community in a positive way. So you don't get anything for referring someone who's not ranking well. Is the way it tries to be structured, but also make sure that the people share your values so that they don't form teams and those teams get bigger and start ranking. The entire consensus of the group can change if you bring in 1,000 people that think differently than the 30 people that are already here. So want to grow intelligently, not and so forth. And also, that's why there's an ability to kick people out. So you might invite somebody, but we can reach consensus that such a person is not espousing alignment with the established vision or core principles, I guess, and therefore they should be, they're not adhering to community consensus. Therefore, they should no longer be allowed to participate. And so it's a complicated thing, but yes, the idea of an open community that anyone can join just makes you subject to attack. The barbarians invade Rome, so to speak.
Thank you.
Well, I think that's it for questions. Thank you everybody for your time. And that was a good way to kind of segue into what I was saying before we went into a few more questions, which was, we encourage you to invite at least one person every week if you can, or at least try to nurture seeds that you're already planting. I know maybe it can take a few weeks even before somebody has taken the time to look at the white paper and is excited enough to really want to try to participate. But if you keep nurturing those seeds, and if you are keeping in mind what was just mentioned about trying to choose quality over quantity and stuff, then we'll continue to have a pretty strong base of people here to really support getting this thing off the ground. And then also just remember what James said about thinking about some kind of a sexy brand for the community. Probably we need to come to consensus on that at some point here before we get too much further along. So thank you everybody for being here. And if anyone else wants to say any closing thoughts, I need to get the cool outro video loaded up here.
I have. Thank you all.
All right. You guys have a great weekend. We'll see you next week. And if you're going to stick around after we end the recording, there'll be like a little post-meeting hangout.
Recording stopped.
Okay. Let me change the settings. So now you can technically unmute yourself, but just try to be kind and courteous and respectful. If you have background noise or something, don't keep your mic unmuted if you're not talking.